Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Today we're gonna see 3 tips for better guitar solos. And let's go and see them immediately. The first one is this. A lot of people, when they solo, they think this way. They think, I have my guitar scale, and I'm gonna improvise on the guitar scale. Which, it's not wrong per se, but since we all do this, okay, all the solos come out pretty much the same, because we have the same thing in mind. So, let's break out a little bit of the guitar scale, shall we? You should not think of the guitar scale as your realm of the possibility. You should not think of it as everything you can do. Instead, you should think of the guitar scale as a bridge between 2 notes. Let me explain. Start thinking, not playing on a scale, not playing musical phrases, but start thinking, open quotes, I want to start from this note and I want to end on this other note, unquote. So, let's say I want to start from this note here, from this A here, and I want to end up on this E up here. Okay? Of course, you need to know a little bit your scales or your notes. I'm not saying no. But I'm not gonna think that. That's one possible way to bridge the gap between those 2 notes. But the idea is, I wanna start here. I wanna end up here. What can I do? Well, I could play only those 2 notes. That's something. I could play another note in between. Or. Okay, and you start doing this kind of thing. It starts slow, but you see. Then you try to play 2 notes in between. Or. And you can change order, by the way, you can go. Okay? And then you start playing more notes. Okay, you don't have to go in a specific order. But you start moving around between those notes and think of the scale as your stepping stones to get from one note to another. Then pick another starting point and another ending point and then improvise this way. So stop thinking of, I have my box and I want to fit inside the box, and start thinking instead, I have a starting point, I have an ending point, which could be really far on the guitar, or could also be really close, and I need to go from one to the other. First, imagine those 2 points, then bridge the gap. You're gonna create phrases that are way more original than what you will do otherwise. And that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, once you have something you like, repeat it. Too many people, when they improvise, keep going with an endless stream of new ideas, okay? And they play a little idea, then they play something completely different, and then they play something completely different, and they play something completely different. And their solos sound boring because they are just a continuous stream of consciousness without rhyme or reason. Instead, do this. Play something, and let's say you like this, okay? It's really nothing special, it's just, okay? Play it a second time, and you have 2 choices. You can play it exactly as it is, so. Or the second time, you can change the last note. Okay? Okay, could be F is a strange note to put there, but it will work perfectly on this chord progression. Okay, just change the last note. Okay, every time you find something you like, every time you play a phrase and that little thing sounds good to you, play it again and change the last note. Now, of course, we could sit down and think about the theory behind it, and eventually you want to do that. and think that you want to land on a chord note, or occasionally you want to land on a non-chord note, and you want to play on the chord or off the chord, or inside the scale or outside the scale, and we can have all these kind of considerations to do. But right now, just change the last note. Just try, just go by ear, and after you play, think to yourself, did I like it or not? And then change accordingly, okay? We can always add more theory on top later. Right now, let's try to develop this kind of spontaneous, okay, playing. You play something you like, play it again. Incidentally, this play it again can go really far, because you could play the very same phrase on a whole chord progression as long as you change the last note, and like you were saying before, the last note is a note of the chord. Okay? So in a blues progression, and there is a D, and then another D, and then an A, an A, and an E, a D, and then an A, and then maybe, oops. I'm playing the same phrase over every single chord in this blues chord progression. But every time I end the little phrase on a note of the chord in the chord progression. So this gives this phrase a little bit of a difference. And so you can recycle this phrase throughout the chord progression. Now, in a real playing situation, I will not repeat the same sentence 12 times, okay? But I could repeat it 4 times, for instance, and it will work perfectly, okay? So up to you how much you want to repeat, but tip number 2 is, if you find something you like, repeat it and change the last note. Tip number 3, it's not what you play, it's how you play it, okay? So, you could have a perfect little phrase made of 3 or 4 notes that sounds great, except it sounds horrible because you just play the notes plainly. It would sound way better if you would put in some phrasing, so bends, vibratos, light. Okay? Or you could play the same phrase here. Okay, and slide between all the notes. The idea is this: the notes are always the same, but how you play them, if you slide into it or out of them, if you bend into them, if you play a hammer on, a pull off, any of those things, changes how it sounds. And a lot of guitar solos are made with simple notes, but with good phrasing on top. Developing phrasing is part of guitar technique. It is, because you need to learn how to do it. It's not natural, okay, like many other things on the guitar, and so you need to train it. But it's fun. So a very simple way of doing that is pick 3 notes, any 3 notes, okay, and then try to play those 3 notes and add something. So for instance, let's say I want to add slides into them. I could put a slide on the first note, or on the second note, or on the third note. Or maybe I can connect the second and the third note, or maybe I can change where I play those on different strings and slide between the first and the second note, and maybe a slide and then hammer on, and then a vibrato. Okay, maybe I can slide into the first note and then slide into the second and into the third. So everything is lights now. Okay, then I can start thinking, what if I use hammer on and pull off? Well, I could pull off from the first note to the second note and then play the third note, or play the first note normally, the second note normally, and hammer on to the third. Okay, I can pick it again, or just not pick it again, okay? And then I could also slide and hammer on, so I can combine it with the slides before, or pull off and then slide. The idea is to set some time in your practice schedule to do this. This is guitar technique. It's not about speed. It's not about dexterity. It's not about shredding. And I like shredding, but this is important too. And this is what makes you sound good. So you spend some time to get used to do this, and you use a very simple musical phrase. Like right now, my musical phrase was E, C, D. 3 notes, always in the same order, always with the same timing. I'm not going to make them faster or slower. I'm just trying to see what happens when I add phrasing on top. So we have the 3 tips for better soloing. Tip number 1, stop thinking about scales as boxes and think about scales as bridges from one point to another of the fretboard, and improvise thinking start from here and here. Number 2, when you play something you like, repeat it and then change the last note and see how you like it. Number 3, spend some time improving your phrasing. It's not what you play, it's how you play it. If you like this tip and you want to know more about how to get your solo sound better, I have an ebook called 18 Tips to Make Your Pentatonic Solo Sounds Professional. It's gonna appear now. And then go there, download it. It's free. It's a completely free ebook. It comes with video examples, and I'm showing you everything in detail. You can go through it in a very short amount of time, and your playing is gonna be better immediately. Get that free book. It's free, okay? And read it. I guarantee you're going to be better because of that. This is Tommaso Zilio of mysteryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy.